Oh, Lordy. The world. It's crazy. And even though so many things are going on that seem so bleak, I don't have my camera. I hope my hair is okay. Oh, my God, guys. I look how I feel, a little crazy, but welcome back to the TruthWire, everybody. I'm your host, Craig Pasta Jordula. Fiorella will be along shortly. She is going to be in shortly. She's doing up an interview or something, so she'll be here shortly. So there are a lot of things to unpack. Please share the stream. like there's like nobody in here. Can't go on my Twitter anymore because my Twitter has been hacked. And somebody has taken it over. Camilla, her name is, or something, or the person who's appearing to be. But do me a favor right now. Let's just get to the YouTube and let's share things on the YouTube right now. Let's get it out, and we'll get it started. Yeah, guys, I am startled. I am just beyond. So let me do the three things that we're talking about. One, my Twitter has been hacked. Thank you, Brad Snow. Sorry. And we'll go over that. I'm sure I'll speak to you tonight. I called you directly. We can see how we could do that. But my Twitter has been hacked. So I don't even know how all these tweets are going to pop up today that I have linked for the show. I don't even know how we're going to do this show because I have a bunch of Twitters. This happened last night when I went to sleep. I woke up this morning. My good friend Steve Poikinen hit me up and said, hey, man, Twitter's been hacked. So that sucks. I'm trying to wait for people to trickle on in. Come on, share the TruthWire, guys. Do me a favor. Get it out there. I can't even share it on X now. It's funny because I was thinking about deleting my Instagram for sure. Just get off it. Get off of social media for a little while. Leave the Twitter because it was more work inducive, and that's that. But let's share the YouTube, please, guys. I know we got more people than 15 who are interested in watching this show. Man. Fee's here. Let's bring Fee in. Fee?
Hey.
I didn't get a chance to discuss with you. Maybe I can show you Fee live about what the Give, Send, Go said. Obviously, guys, I told everybody my Twitter's been hacked. My Twitter is not going to my Twitter anymore. So I don't know. I'll try to figure out that situation, rectify it. I sent them in all the information as far, I'm trying to figure it out. It's just confusing on even to make a report. Snow's going to help me, he said, but we'll figure how that goes out. Maybe I'll get it back. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just nuke the thing and start a new one. Who knows? Like I said, I think I'm going to nuke my Instagram before that gets hacked. And anyways, I think Instagram is not work friendly. It's a little bit more distracting anyways. And they say get off social media, so why don't you get off it? So my Twitter has been hacked. Fam, can I show you what they sent me the other day? It's the same thing from Give, Send, Go. But let me show you real quick, and we will kind of get into that and let everybody know where they stand when it comes to that. So this is it here. Hey, hi, Craig Summer here. Your transfer is still on hold while our payment processor partner completes an additional verification review. Right now, the only confirmed update we have is that they've told us they need more information on their side. I don't know what that means. They haven't given us a specific explanation we can pass along yet. And they also haven't asked for anything additional at this time. So they haven't asked for anything. They haven't said anything. It's been 6 weeks, guys. I know this feels drawn out, especially after waiting this long. And I don't want to imply we have more detail than we do. As soon as they provide a concrete update or request any next step from you, we'll let you know here right away. Shine brightly, Summer. So I put, hey, can we just refund our supporters and stop playing these games? It's ridiculous. And it's been over a month and you don't even have an inkling of an answer. Please just refund our supporters before you completely destroy us. And she responded back, yes, we can do that for you again. Once again, I apologize. We couldn't get you clear answers from our payment processor team. I understand that caused a whole lot of frustration on your part, and that is never the impact we want to leave. Well, it's the impact you left. Here's the summary of fees for your next step. Real independent journalism on elections and news, payment processor restrictions. Now it's saying it's restrictions. $2,212. Number of donations, 48. Processing fees. So they want to charge me to refund everybody.
Why do you need to? I'm sorry. Why do you need to refund people? Like, why do we? need to do that right now. Why don't we just continue pushing them to get the funds out?
We
Like,
could
I'm not
hold, but
paying
they're
them
not gonna.
anything.
We could do that. They could just keep them there forever. So this is
I
what I'm
don't think they
saying,
will.
Sam. It's like they're holding on. They're not giving us any answers. They haven't released, and we can keep pushing them. But we haven't even got an answer. Anyways, I just want to point out that it says an additional $75 they want to charge me to refund the fees.
This is insane.
Yeah. So I mean, and fam, I'm sorry to bring it here right now. I was going to share it with you this morning, but obviously the Twitter stuff has just had me in a whirlwind, spinning my fucking head, trying to figure out what to do because my Twitter was working. I was working on the show all night. We can try to get it there. They haven't given us an answer on 6 weeks what they need. A friend of mine, Zoe, called me and she goes, Pasta, it is Stripe. And if Stripe has you on a list or whatever, they're not going to release those fees. And they can just keep them held up forever. Now, I don't know. We can sit there and try to continue to push them and try to say, hey, do something, give us an answer. They're not giving us an answer on anything. I don't know if they will, fam. It is what it is. Like they said, they haven't, their processing department hasn't asked for anything. And it's Stripe. And Stripe's been known to nuke and withhold people's information. And I think that maybe Vanessa's had a problem with Stripe. But they haven't asked for any information. They're not giving any information, and they're just holding on to those fees. So it seems like to me that this is what they wanted us to do. They wanted us to say, okay, refund it, pay to get it refunded and moved on. I don't know, fam. We could try.
I don't agree with. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think we should keep pushing them and demand an answer from them because they need to give one. And they can't just hold it forever. They need to, at some point, give some sort of answer. And I'm not paying them a cent for any of this. So, like, when that happens, just go to your, if that happens, go to your bank and dispute it. Because we shouldn't have to pay their inadequacies, whether it's Stripe or not. And if it is Stripe, we need to find a way to reach Stripe. If that's the case, I'm not one to just give in to these people, especially now. This is what they want. They want you to say, oh, okay, we'll refund the money and then we'll just give in. I think we should make a bigger spectacle out of this and talk about it more and literally put it out there, because this obviously it's happened to us before with Cuba, which because of the legalities of the state sponsor of terror when it comes to Cuba, that can be a thing. But this is like bigger than that. This is the fact that there's no way to, like, they're trying to strangle people out of making of being supported. Any sort of truth telling journalism, really, some of the only ones that are out there that are actually on the ground and have traveled places and are trying to do stuff. It's a direct attack on that. So if they want their shitty company on blast, let's put their shitty company on blast. I mean, the Christians on blast, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just blast them.
Yeah. So we'll continue to blast them, and that will be that. That's fine with that one. So that's strike 2.
You're freezing again.
Huh?
You're freezing every now and then. Just
all right,
so
here, I know how to take care of that. I got this. Let me do this.
Why does it look weird? Why do you look like?
Because I don't have my camera, and I'm using.
Okay.
It's just guys, I don't even want to cry. If this is so fucking hysterical, I just want to laugh. So here, fam. This is not what I want. This is what I want. So, last thing to share too as well. We still got one. Hang in there, boys and girls. We still got one more thing to share. Let me see this. Okay, so this is a good one too. As you know, we've been demonetized for quite some time. We've been reapplying for monetization, whatnot. I kind of jumped the gun and said, Fee, I think we're going to get it back this time. It still says your application is under review. Guys, I don't think they're going to give us our monetization back. I just think that's the thing. We're not going to get it back. So I don't think we're going to be able to make money through YouTube. We now cannot make money through Give, Send, Go with donations. We've been forget about PayPal. Not going to try that. We do have our individual Stripe is a controlled by a Zionist investors. That's somebody saying yes. So yeah, fun. How about that? We're not getting that back either. You know what I'm saying? This is why we can't have nice things, Fiorella.
But how do some people who do the same thing we do not get touched? That is my question.
Because who does the same thing we do, though? Nobody does what we fucking do.
Yeah, but it's kind of like
nobody does what we fucking do. There are similarities, but nobody goes the fucking distance. These people fucking capitulate. They're either adding to a divisive fucking rhetoric, which the fucking deep state wants, or the whatever security state wants, people fighting at each other. They're not independent thinkers. They're tribal behavior, right? And they care about clicks and whatnot, so therefore they'll fucking self-censor themselves. We don't do that. And they've done everything possible they can to fucking crush us. And here's just another fucking thing.
And Stripe is in control of Substack. So you get paid from Substack via Stripe. And it hasn't been a problem for me as of yet. But I know a lot of creators have been saying, a lot of writers on Substack have been saying they've been having a lot of problems, or like they'll charge people when people don't want to be charged. That's entirely out of the control of anybody. So yeah, I think the thing is to build a system like people like Ryan, Christian have done, where people donate directly. Like if you want to support us, you directly need to go to our website. So I think we need to work on that, because this is just impossible, guys. We can't continue to do this when we're getting like defunded like left and right. Like it's absolutely insane. And I know we're not the only ones, but we're one of the only people on YouTube that continuously gets defunded. So I mean, I know people on Substack are having issues. Like I said, I know people on YouTube are having got their channels taken down as well. I never got my channel back on YouTube, while other people have gotten it back who say, you know, more controversial things, for like, as just Pasta said. But, you know, for some reason, I never got my channel back, and it was just growing. It was new. It wasn't anything big yet. Well, it was big enough to get taken down and not come back. So, I mean, this is, you know, who knows? Like my other YouTube channel, how that's going to go. Because it's like we can't rely on any of these institutions. I mean, this is a Google operating. These are Zionist companies that refuse to basically do the right thing, that are seeing a genocide and really looking the other way and continuing to support Israel. We just saw San Francisco light up on with an Israeli flag. Like, do we do that for any other country? Do we light up our government buildings for, you know, any other country? You know, it's getting out of hand, and I think the only thing that's going to stop this is people actually revolting, right? But not against each other, against those in power. It's very, very clear. If you start fighting amongst yourselves, they win. So I think those are the steps we're going. And look, even right now, we're being totally shadow banned right now. Absolutely. But, you know, we're going to continue doing this right now. Today, we have a lot of things to talk about. And I know Jayme has a hard out at 3. So we got to get on it.
Jayme, you got stuff going. So I was getting ready in the dock just in case you had to take off. If you do, go ahead. I got it. Let me know. But if you want to put up, you want to start going, you want me to take over?
Let me do the first. I'll do the first segment. When then you get to the second segment, then I'm going to.
Cool. I'll set up the second segment as you are fucking doing the first segment. Thank you, Jayme CheeseSlice, on the 1s and 2s. And, you know, fam, I think there's more about being anti-Zionist, too, as well. I just think it's the United States government, too, that hates us. You know what I'm saying? The election thing early, you know what I'm saying? Once again, you know, there wasn't many people who were going out and going, look at this clean election. Look at this transparent election. We were actually showing people, you know what I'm saying, that this is how you can have a fair election. And before that, you know, nobody in our group was ever talking about Epstein. We were sitting there looking at Epstein. I'll never forget when we heard like 6 months ago, okay, it is apparent that Epstein did work for the Mossad. Yeah, we had a video of that 7 fucking years ago. And the fact that we were considered like leftist, Bernie Sanders movement, Tulsi Gabbard supporter, me, whatever, and stuff like that. There were people in that clan who weren't opening up and talking to that. So we made ourselves a threat. And the fact that we were able to swing over and talk about COVID stuff, let's not forget that we were the first to talk about ivermectin before Dr. Pierre Curry and Brett Weinstein, mega fucking Zionists, were talking about it. You know what I'm saying? When you are principled and when you are an independent thinker and you're not going to say things because you're in a tribe, you're going to put yourself in a very dangerous position. That's what we did. Let's get this rolling, fam. Arachi said the other day, hey, man, Strait of Hormuz, not open, right? It's amazing to me how Donald Trump can still get over there, and his followers will say, oh, God, it's, the Army's decimated, the Navy's gone, they're pretty much defeated, we're just waiting for them to bend the knee, but yet they keep closing the Strait of Hormuz. These people are so fucking dumb, right? These fucking lackeys that just go along, these Trumpers. Bring it on up, Jayme. The Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz, until they get the money. They're demanding billions stolen. Assets as waterway remains sealed, fam. It's closed, and you can scroll on up, James. James, I love to do that. You can see it. Keep going. Go to the article. Make it nice and big. Go to the article, Jayme. Yeah, beautiful. A sharp escalation of rhetoric. Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Arachi has declared that the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the United States releases what he describes of 46 years of stolen money, while viral social media claims have inflated Iran's demands to a staggering 11 trillion. Like, okay, that's what they're putting up to try to make them look ridiculous. Official diplomatic channels indicate Tehran is currently leveraging the strategic checkpoint to secure the release of approximately 100 billion to 120 billion in frozen international assets. Fam, your thoughts?
I mean, what else are they going to do? I mean, this is the very least thing they can do in terms of diplomacy. This is what they need to do. I honestly don't think that any diplomatic demand coming from Iran towards the United States or Israel is going to be met with any serious consideration. I mean, this is, I don't know if you guys saw the video I did with Marwa. It was a really great interview. You guys should watch it. And we streamed it here on TruthWire as well. And one of the things she said is, we believe in the resistance. Only the resistance is going to do anything against the Zionist Epstein cabal. That's it. Everything else is just all of this international law, all of the diplomatic bullshit, all of that is useless because you're not dealing with normal people. You're dealing with psychopaths. You're dealing with people who don't want to negotiate on good faith, who don't want a win-win situation. They want to crush you and make sure that you are, once you're crushed, they'll stomp on you as well. They're never going to give the United States, or they're never going to give Iran any sort of actual justifiable, reasonable concession. So that's a simple reality that I think people need to understand. This is a war for Iran. If they don't win this war, Iran as we know it is gone. And with Iran, of course, after that comes everything else. And that's one of the things people need to realize. This isn't just about Iran. Iran is putting itself out there. The resistance is putting itself out there. The people are dying. We just saw them kill a journalist. We saw Israelis literally hunt down a journalist and kill her with direct strikes after threatening her on WhatsApp, after sending all these threatening messages. There is no redemption here. There's no working with it. When people realize that there's no working with it, that's when we move forward. Right now, people still think you can have like some sort of truce with these people. There's no truce. Unfortunately, I'm not one to advocate for war. But in this case, that's the only option that Iran has, and to continue developing its nuclear capabilities.
Yeah. Jayme, what do we got up next on the dock over here? Fam, before I play Israel Cats, can you go full screen for us? Because I do have a question just came to my mind. Here's the thing. And I already know the answer. Asking a question you already know the answer to. Remember when your teacher said there's no such thing as stupid questions? are they capable of remaining and keeping this closed, right? Because we still have a lot of chitter chatter in the background by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, by Donald Trump, whatnot. All right, if you don't do this, all hell to pay. We're going to bomb like nuts. Do they have the ability to keep this closed as they've been doing so? Because you're hearing different rhetoric from the tribal stations on the right. Can they keep this closed at all times, even if the United States comes in for a ground invasion? Because they're also looking like they're preparing for that. And those are one of the three things I've talked about with our source in Tehran, who I just talked to the other day, right? Is number one, that they're preparing for a ground invasion. They're ready for that. We see people in the streets, Wyatt Reed's out there, whatnot. We see other people reporting. There are citizens grabbing guns going, let's go. We're ready for this. Come in there. And if you look at that topographic map, it's going to be hard to invade. It's like a built-in fucking fortress. Number two, they hit the power infrastructures of Iran, hit all the oil fields, hit the desalination plants, hit the energy grid, natural gas, all that stuff. The problem with that, and this is what my source said, we know they can't do that, because if they do, there'll be no lights in the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, no lights in Kuwait, no lights in Saudi Arabia. We have the ability to knock out all their energy grids. They can't stop us. And if they do so, they'll lose all their allies, and they'll be sleeping in and they can't, they're different than Iran, right? Iran is not mainly like a desert area. If they hit all those areas, it's going to be unlivable throughout half that region. And the third point is the nukes. If the United States decide to bring in a nuke, God forbid, then it's fucking a whole another discussion. But those are the three things that they are most prepared for and that they're expecting in Tehran. So can Arachi hold, are his words worth value, or is he just speaking hot air and making threats that he can't hold up?
Arachi is not the only ones who is making the decisions here. The IRGC is far more radical than what Arachi is putting out there. So if Arachi is talking about making these demands, then what is behind those demands failing is Iran continuing to hold its position. Now, there are, of course, internal divisions, as we all know, but it does seem right now that what Iran is trying to get everybody to understand is that Iranian people are, as a whole, Iranian people, right? That they're going to go down fighting. And more importantly, the people on the ground that you see every weekend going out in the streets and protesting and staying out there regardless of seeing missiles fly by, those are the people that the United States is going to have to take down. Those are the people that Israel is going to have to take down. And as you said, it's impossible for the United States and Israel to win on a hand-to-hand, on-the-ground combat operation with Iran. They don't have the people. They don't have millions and millions of people to go out there. And the only way they would have that is if the United States forced Americans to go and fight this war for Israel. And the way I'm looking at it is the majority of people would actually not do that, and they would actually revolt. Now, they could instigate it via a false flag, but even then, I think now people are just a little bit too aware, and things have gotten a little bit too exposed that it would be impossible. I think what we're going to see is the attempts for the United States to once again try to trick Iran over and over again, say they want a deal, buy themselves more time. And unfortunately, I do think they are more than capable and willing to actually nuke Iran. The reason being is because everything else you listed, they can't do. Yeah. So they're not going to win any other way. This is the only way that they are sitting in this room thinking, we need to take down Iran. If we can only take down Iran this way, then that's the only thing that's left. They're trying everything right now. But yeah. If they can't do that, then I see them as being crazy enough to do it, or at least buy time until they can actually find a weakened position in Iran. This is why Lebanon is so important for this. And one of the things that, your friend, your source said is true. Like, they could take out all of the Gulf for sure. But more importantly, the people of Iran, the people of Lebanon, the people of these regions are very much used to living without electricity, living with completely polluted water, when I was talking to Marwa, she lost power. The generator went down, so the lights went off, and she's like, it'll come back soon. These are the things that happen normally. It happened in Iraq when I was there. It happened in Iran. It's in Lebanon. It's normal things that because the power structures like the grid, the water, all of these things are attacked, they have backup plans like generators, like wells, to use this in case they're attacked. So they're prepared. The people over there are prepared for war. They have a different mentality than we do. If we were to ever experience a fraction of what they experience on the daily, we would literally end up killing each other in the United States. We don't have that capacity. We would literally be out in the streets and like running mayhem. Like people can't live an hour or two without air conditioner. Okay. Like this is not, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to belittle people in the United States. I'm just saying simple facts. Okay. We're not used to living like that. For us, it's the end of the world. And like, I think for me, that's been a perspective that's been extremely clear, having been to Donbass and having been to all over the region over there in West Asia, and also even being in Latin America, where it's a different world and a different type of reality that I think a lot of my American friends would honestly not survive. And it's just a reality. People, we're living with comforts that we take for granted that regular people across the world don't have, but that makes them stronger in that sense, because we would fall apart if one little thing goes wrong, and they won't. So that's something to look
Uber
at too.
Eats!
Yeah, exactly. No Uber Eats, no whatever, no Ubers. Like on the daily, even in Russia, people have to deal with the internet, with drones, with not having this or that work, like not being able to use your cards. I mean, these are things that people across the world are prepared for, that Americans were just like, yeah, no, it's going to be fine. The moment it's not fine. And I hope that day comes, not because I want people to suffer, but because I want people to understand a fraction of what we export to the rest of the world.
You know, there was a discussion. There's always discussions about that. I had a discussion with Ryan and Steve about that too, as well. And it's, you know, I think there's a misconception. Nobody wants to see anybody else suffer. We don't want to see bombs hit the United States because we want people, you see, it's like, but how do you get people to understand what our tax dollars are exporting out there? I mean, what do you do at this point? And I don't want to see death on anybody. It's disgusting. But the fact that people can walk around so blind to what their tax dollars are doing while, you know, people propagate war and make excuses for war. My conservative comedian friends, this shit's been going on for a long time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. We can't change that. So even to the people who weaponize that statement, well, what do you know? You're born the son of a colonizer. I can't control who I was born to, where I was born to. But you know what the fuck I can do? I can make a fucking plea, and I can demand and fight for a cleaner, better future where no death and destruction is involved. War is not war where it's just this country versus this country. No, war is blowing up women and children, tearing babies from limb to limb. That's what's going on. That's going on with your tax dollar. We need to wake up to it. Fam, the next thing I want to show you right here is, okay, we have these demands by Iran. We have this holding their ground. Here you got Israel Cat saying they're ready to go back to war with Iran. I mean, like it's nothing right now. You know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily have to play it. We can leave it low and I can read. You know, let's leave it low and I'll read it real quick. Targets are marked to complete elimination. Israel is prepared to renew the war against Iran. The IDF is prepared for defense and attack. The targets are marked. We're waiting for the green light from the United States. First and foremost, the complete elimination of the Khamenei dynasty, which is initiating the plan of destruction against Israel, the success of the leadership of the Iranian terrorist regime, and the addition of reducing Iran to the Dark Ages and the Stone Age, destroying the main energy, electricity facilities, and crushing the national economic infrastructure. So, I mean, not only Israel is out there just mouthing off and admitting to and going forth with war crimes. These are war crimes, right? These are war crimes. I mean, this is nuts, but why the hell would they pull the string? Are they really trying to convince what's going on? And why aren't they at a point right now? Why is Ben Gurion Airport open? Why did Malay get to go there the other day? How did they not fucking destroy that into rubbles? What effect are these missiles from Iran really having, fam? Because I would like to see more about what's going on in Israel.
What you need to understand is Iran will not go and attack Tel Aviv civilian infrastructure. They're just not going to do it. And that's what Israel uses against them. And this is where I'm actually quite radical about this. I don't agree with that strategy. At this point where we are, in my opinion, they need to take down every facet of Israel. If they don't do that, Israel knowing that they won't do that, because they have respected, if they're not attacked, they don't attack. So they are operating at a level of morality, at a level of decency, which is being met by nobody else. So when you operate at that level, eventually you're going to get hurt, because none of these people are people that are reasonable people. We're dealing with monsters. We're dealing with pure evil. What he just said there, he wants to take Iran back to the Stone Age. That's it. They want to completely eliminate these people off the map completely, right? You cannot reason with that at this point. You've tried everything, treaty after treaty, of ceasefire after ceasefire, attempts to negotiate. Politicians are always going to be diplomats first, so they're always going to go in with saying, okay, we need to avoid war at all costs. What can we do? That's the politician diplomatic way, because nobody wants to see a world war. But at the same time, if this is about Iran's survival, and Israel is willing to literally kill children at a school, bomb hospitals where newborns are, literally just every day, and they're not being punished by international law. They're not being punished by even Iran's allies in China and Russia. We saw today or yesterday, a few days ago, whenever it was, I don't know their dumb Independence Day, because I don't consider it a real state, but whenever it was Israel's Independence Day, we saw Russia release a celebration, right, for their Independence Day. I mean, talk about not knowing your audience. A lot of people in the comments went at them saying, why are you doing this? Why are you releasing this right now? They're this entity. And even their own people in Russia right now are saying, why do we care about these Russian Israelis when they're more Israeli than Russian? Like, this is a thing. The entire world is against Israel, but the people in power who have the capacity to do something against them refuse to do it. And they refuse to do it because they have invested interests in Israel. That's what it is. I mean, Israel controls a lot of the surveillance tech, a lot of the intelligence apparatus. And so a lot of this, yes, the monetary aspect. So a lot of this is pretty much that. So this is the world we live in. We don't live in a world where a lot of these idiots are out there saying, oh, multipolarity is rising and the United States is falling apart. No, it's not. The United States is stronger than ever. They're about to take over Latin America. Like, this is like the empire is falling inside for the people living in it, but not for the people making money. How much money has the Trump family made out of this war? How much money have the elites made out of this war? Like, that to me is not winning. We are not winning. We're losing.
Yeah. And
people need to understand that. I'm not saying it to be a doomer. I'm not saying it because I'm black-pilled. I don't believe in these fucking labels. What I know is that people need to wake up and stop believing that Iran and China are going to come, or China and Russia are going to come save Iran, because that's not happening. It would have happened already. They're just operating to protect their interests, and they don't care if Iran falls as long as there's another way they can continue making their money and continuing their whole thing. That's it. That's the reality. I hate to be such a downer, but that's what we've been screaming about with Vanessa for more than 1 year now.
Yeah. And during COVID, a lot of assets got pushed to the ruling class, the 1%. Right after that, these wars, a lot of assets are getting pushed to the 1%, meaning that they're just clearing the way and they're turning Gaza into parking lots and confiscating all that land and whatnot. So, I mean, they've increased their wealth, and a lot of people have been duped by this whole Donald Trump thing that he's taking on the deep state and still fucking kind of yelling that. Now, remember when this war started, fam, he was going to say, oh, it'll be done in like 10 days. It'll be done in no time. Here he is the other day now when he's getting pushed and going, hey, man, Vietnam took this long. Iraq took this long. Hello, people, would you fucking wake up? The guy is now looking to start a war for God knows how long. Here's Donald Trump. Jayme, go ahead and play it up. Talking about give me a little time, fam. Time. Jayme, you ready? Jayme.
You need to take out the banner.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fucking find it. Yeah. Hold on.
I mean, I don't see a way out of this stuff. I don't see a way out of it, guys.
Sorry,
you know what? Let me just share this link from this interview. You guys should watch if you haven't seen it. A lot of people are saying it's good. It's a perspective from somebody that gets attacked constantly. That's
all right.
I
got this. Ready? I'm going with this one. This is Donald Trump. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Why can't I hear it? It's not playing.
Hold on.
4.5, almost 5 years in World War II.
On the war with Iran, how long are you willing to wait until you get a unified response?
Don't rush me, Jeff. Guys like you want to say, oh, so we were in Vietnam like for 18 years. We were in Iraq for many, many years. We're in for I don't like to say World War II because that was a biggie, but we were 4.5, almost 5 years in World War II. We were in the Korean War for 7 years. I've been doing this for 6 weeks, and their military is totally defeated. They're outside of the little wise guy ships. I call them the wise guy ships, the little boats that they have running around with guns in them. We'll take them out too when we see them. But
fam, how is it that they're completely decimated, they're completely destroyed, and yet they still close the Strait of Hormuz? We had the Indian ships screaming, please let us go. We're turning back now. Get it. Don't do this. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, sorry. But fam, I don't know if you want to comment on this. It's been 6 weeks. So are you saying we should dig in for a long fucking haul for a war over here? Is that what you're saying, Donald Trump? Because when you started this thing, you said you ended in a couple days. You keep telling us that they're decimated, but yet they keep closing shit and going on fucking bombing the region. So you tell me, Mr. President, and we're all the people, the Trump supporters, why won't they wake the fuck up, fam?
You're asking too much of them.
Yeah.
I just want to point out the fact that Donald Trump said he brought up Vietnam. Vietnam was one of the biggest losses for the United States. I mean, how many people died? How many people came back fucked up in the head and never recovered? One of the main reasons we had homelessness and people that were mentally unstable was after Vietnam. That was literally one of the reasons that, that you saw that era of people. It's also one of the reasons for the drug epidemic. So many things that war has done. I just saw a story the other day of a guy who apparently served in Iraq, and he just literally up and killed his son and himself. And there's so many stories like that that I've seen throughout my lifetime, coming from the war in Iraq. So we're still seeing the repercussions of the war in Iraq. If we go to war in Iran and it becomes something where we have American troops, people that I know, young, like my cousins and stuff that are, in the military, thinking that this is a normal thing, because in the normie world, it's normal to go work for Lockheed Martin. It's normal to go work for Northrop Grumman. It's normal to go work for the defense industry. It's actually looked as a normal good thing for you in your career. It's great to go in the military if you feel like they're going to pay your student debt, if you feel like you're going to have a nice house and you're going to get all these benefits. So that's how it's being sold, right? And so people go into this thinking it's just going to be they're going to play, be in the army, and they're not really going to go to war. But when you actually go to war, that adds another layer of people going to war and what that does. And again, going back to my discussion with Marwa, is what she told Americans to resist, to actually not continue paying taxes. So the government can go and bomb little children every day. Like we have to do it. And one of the things she said was Americans, US Americans, have to be the ones to put an end to this, right? And I'm like, well, you're going to be waiting forever because what are we doing? In the US, we don't even have an anti-war movement. We're not seeing people out in the streets every day. What will it take? Maybe it will take Donald Trump saying, hey, we're going to have a draft and all of you are going to go to war. You're going to go fight. And then maybe people will actually do something about this, because right now we're protected. And one of the things I want to explain, something I'll be diving into later, is how the United States is using Europe to basically sink it in order to continue benefiting from this. Because now the oil that we sell is worth more because they're sanctioning Russia and Iran. So people aren't able to get the oil. So Europe is literally falling apart. Lufthansa just canceled a lot of flights. Lufthansa is one of the most, I would say, prominent airlines that operates throughout Europe. I've used it many times in my travels from Russia to the United States. And it's a decent airline, but they have a lot of the operations. So they're scaling back. They're falling apart because they can't pay the fuel costs of this anymore. This is they're devastated. Germany, all of these countries that normally would get cheaper gas and cheaper fuel are now paying the price. And that's fine with the United States because they don't care about sinking Europe. It makes them more dependent on the United States. It makes the world more dependent on them. The same thing with Latin America. They just grabbed Venezuela. There's a lot of oil to be grabbed in Brazil. I need to add that tweet to this. There's a lot of oil to be grabbed in Brazil. There's even oil in Peru, apart from the lithium. So that's why they're focused on Latin America, because they want to build another military sector in Latin America that they can use to compete economically with China. And what this basically is, it's not even about the oil. It is about control, because ultimately we're shifting away from oil towards the non-fossil fuel sector, which is right in line with Agenda 2030. Because once we shift away from oil, and they control that energy supply is going to be used for other forms of travel. So first they have to scale it back. They have to say, well, you can't, go from A to B because you need a permit to do that. It's going to be like that. And I've talked about this before, but that's going to extend into the rest of the world. And it goes right in line with Agenda 2030. So that's kind of like a snippet as to what I'm going to discuss in the next section. But I think it's important that people understand this isn't just a thing that is about a regional war in Iran and Israel. This is a war of where the world will go, if it's going to go here or it's going to go here. It's that big, what we're seeing.
Nice. Sorry about that. I got a lot of shit going on over here at the house. What do we have next up on the dock, Jayme? Let's get to it.
You have antiwar.com.
Yeah. This is the all right. So, and this has been, it's been the strategy of Iran to kind of go an eye for an eye, right? So the United States got a hold of some tankers. Iran did the same. Well, here comes the Americans doubling down again. U.S. forces board another Iran-linked tanker in the Indian Ocean, which is international water, which makes this an act of war, illegal. Once again, President Trump has ordered U.S. forces to shoot and kill Iranian vessels if they lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The Pentagon said on Thursday that U.S. forces boarded another tanker in the Indian Ocean that it was said carrying Iranian oil, as the U.S. continues to enforce a blockade against Iran. Jayme, begin moving on up. Overnight, U.S. forces carried out a maritime interdiction and right of visit, boarding a sanctioned stateless vessel, the MT Majestic X, transporting oil from Iran in the Indian Ocean. The U.S. War Department said on a post on X that included a video of the U.S. forces boarding the vessel. So, fam, it's just more of the same over here. I don't know how they're continuing to do it. Go ahead a little bit up if you want to show it. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Motor vessel Majestic X, we intend to conduct the boarding of your vessel.
So you can see they told it, they boarded the vessel. It's in the Indian Ocean. It's international waters, fam. It seems like they're going to continue to do this stuff. I mean, who's going to stop them? Nobody's going to hold them accountable. Nobody ever holds them accountable. Nobody's holding the president accountable in the United States when it comes to our citizens. Nobody did it for Biden. Nobody's doing it for Trump. It's just going to continue to go on and on. Meanwhile, they'll get people to yell at each other and say the woke on the left is the fucking problem, and the left will say the right fascist, they're the fucking problem, and they'll yell at each other, the neighbors, and scream, and the empire will continue to do what it wishes, fam.
Yeah. I mean, unless people wake up, which I don't really see, unless they're directly affected, they're not going to wake up. Pasta. People just are continuing with their lives. Although I think things are really turning dire all over the world right now in terms of job security, in terms of finance, in terms of a lot of things. So that might actually help. In the alien stuff too. I haven't even all that stuff. Not even the alien stuff, but the disappearing scientists. Something I definitely want to talk about that I find really, really odd, especially right now at the time that we're in. That all of this stuff is happening. There's just I just feel like we're in a very, very dark era.
Yeah,
right now.
We are.
And I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't every year, before we were like, all right, it's 2020, that's insane, we're in a pandemic, right? What can happen after that? Then it just got progressively worse, and then we experienced a genocide in Gaza, and everything that's happened in between, and now we're seeing more genocide and more war and more this, and what's next, right? We're due for a false flag. We're due for another scamdemic. We're due for all sorts of new things. So buckle up, because I think, if somebody was coming from the future, they'd say, wait a minute, it's not so bad right now. Just wait till this shit happens next.
Yeah, that is a little bit crazy. Craziness all around, just trying to keep the head above the water. It's nuts. Let's go into Jayme. I'm gonna take over from here. You're gonna take off, Jayme. All right, get out of here. Take your screens down, take your tanker down, take yourself down. I love you. Get out of here. Jayme CheeseSlice 1s and 2s. Let me clear the banners up.
So we're going into Peru now. This section is divided into two sections. You're going to talk about the election part, but I'm going to talk about Peru's geopolitical inner workings, which I think are very hard to understand for most people, because their politics are extremely complicated here. And I've been trying to get a sense of what is happening here in the capital, but my aim is to actually go to more rural areas and talk to people there, because their perspectives are largely different there.
We need the people from Peru on the outer skirts to come on in to show us the way. We do, right? It really sucks what happened in Bolivia. That was done. That was a whole fucking CIA fucking thing where they fucking pitted the left against each other. And fucking things did not work out. But that's that. In Peru, I really hope they come in from the outer rims and show us what can be done. So 95% reporting, guys. You can see that right over here. 95.146. Keiko Fujimori has definitely secured herself a spot. 17% of the votes, 2,730,000. You can see that there. Now, with Sanchez and Porky, this was the runoff for the spot for the second spot. You can see Roberto Eber Sanchez Paramino has 1,926,000 votes, pretty much 100, right? 12.303% of the vote, where Porky, Rafael Bernardo Lopez Aliaga Cazorla, a.k.a. Porky, Cazorla, how do you say it? Cazarola. See, it says Cazorla.
No, Cazorla. Sorry,
Cazorla. Yeah, I said it right. See, 1,900,005, almost 100, 1.906. Okay, so 20,000 votes ahead right now. If you remember, at one point, Sanchez went up because they were getting all his numbers from the outer rims, all the outer parts, the outside of Lima, and he was just charging. And he got up by like 40,000 votes. Then a couple areas where they counted, Aliaga got close. He got close back to win 3,500, under almost 3,000 votes. He was within in close. But then the other reports started coming in, and Sanchez has now kind of padding his lead, 20,000, which means at this point he's all but secured himself a victory. You can see over here. I'll bring this into here. Share this tab. See, did that go over there? Beautiful. It worked. This is from Javier Mazacom. It says, with the official vote count at 95% and with a sustained margin of difference of more than 20,000 votes in favor of Roberto Sanchez, it's crystal clear that Keiko Fujimori's fourth electoral defeat will be against Sanchez. The good news for Lopez Aliaga, who's already statistically out of the running, is that now he'll have time to finish his scrap train project. And there's a laugh on it. But you can see pretty much, fam, that it's all about Roberto Sanchez in there right now. And that's that. Before I go any further, if you have anything to say about this election, we said that this election was not the cleanest election whatsoever. I don't know what to make of it, but there are some things I want to clarify, right? Where people are trying to say, especially in Peru, and the conservative populist Donald Trump right like fucking Peru, people like Aliaga, Porky, and whatnot, who are trying to blame the communist left. I don't see how the communist left could have pulled this off or could have done this. In fact, fam, I'm leaning towards your theory that there was some fuckery that they tried to pull to get Sanchez out of the running, but his power and his support was too strong, and that's why he finished second. Fam, any thoughts or anything to say, please go ahead and do so.
Yeah, I will dive deeper into this in the next section, but I do want to say first and foremost, there is no communist left in Peru. There are pockets of people that are still far left. But Peru is largely still tainted by the disdain for the Maoist group Shining Path that existed in the 80s and primarily led through supposed attacks. I mean, these were real attacks that happened, but where they came from is up for debate, right? Whose hand was in here was up for debate. We do know throughout history that the CIA infiltrated various movements, including communist left-wing movements throughout the world, to try to cause mayhem and destruction. The leader of Shining Path, he led these groups to destroy a great portion of the areas where they were leading. So they would go to different villages and areas, and they would say, if you don't support us, we're gonna burn your house, we're gonna shoot you. And that is essentially what is the historic record in Peru. And it wasn't just in Lima, but it was all over. And in Lima, they attacked the areas of wealth, which were Miraflores at that time, and all of these areas, and they would have like car bombs. They would have what people would call terrorism during that time. And so people are still very much ingrained against anything left-wing, especially in Lima, where the primary elite class reigns. And it's like about 8-9 families that basically run the entire country. And so when you say that this was done by Sanchez or it was done by the left in Peru, I find that hard to believe because they're not in power right now. They have completely been pushed out. Pedro Castillo is in jail right now. Like they have very little power in Congress. The majority of Congress and the majority of the country, even now, is run by Keiko Fujimori already because she controls Congress. And they basically, there's a word for it, but they basically run the country because the president is basically left powerless. And the president that's there now, he is a replacement for the former president that was a replacement for the former president that was a replacement for the former president. I'm not joking. This happened since in the 5 years, okay, that Pedro Castillo was jailed. So So now they want to replace him again with somebody else because they say that he is a left winger. And so that's where Peru's at. I mean, there is the Congress, it's far too powerful. And we have a Senate and a House of Representatives. It's bicameral, just like in the United States. But they have too much power, so they don't let any president govern, which is why you've seen 10 presidents in the last 10 years in Peru. So that's not normal. So for people to say that this was orchestrated by the left, I said, what left? Number one, how could they possibly orchestrate this when they don't run anything? It's just, it doesn't match with the people telling us, even the majority of people on the ground. Oh, Keiko's behind this as it was happening. Keiko's mafia is behind this 100%. She wants to like cause mayhem. She wants to make sure she gets in first. She wants to create chaos so they can manipulate everything. And, Aliaga, of course, is far more in line with Keiko than he is with Sanchez. Aliaga wants Donald Trump to come in and interfere. He was supporting the F-16s, which I will also mention, and all of that. So there's really, it doesn't make any sense that the left is behind this. I don't see any evidence of that, not because I prefer the left, but there's just literally no, if there was evidence, if we saw this at the polling locations, we would have seen it. But this was more of like, before any electoral process took place, they weren't prepared, which I find hard to believe. That it was just lack of organization.
It almost seems like they're giving themselves an out to overturn this election in the United States and come on in. Have people on Twitter kind of reporting the left is doing this in Peru and whatnot.
Like in Brazil.
Yeah, same thing in Brazil, except they didn't come in. Brazil's just strong enough to hold. Let's go over a few things really quickly because I want to point out, just to explain to people, because I was sitting here in a situation, I've said before, maybe they should just redo it over again. I don't know. I don't see how you can point to any side doing this unless we had a smoking gun. However, the conservatives or the populist right within Peru is still trying to put this on the left. The JNE seems to be going through with this, fam. They seem to be continuing to say, okay, this is the election. We're going to take a look at everything. Even though 95% is in, it says the JNE, which is the body overseeing the OMPE, which is the ONPE, which actually runs the elections. But the JNE has a lot to say, continues to carry out monitoring and verification actions of electoral materials used in the general elections, which are located in the OMPE warehouse in the Lurin district. Well, remember when we went and we said, something's going on, fam. They're just going into these warehouses and all of a sudden they're grabbing these bags full of things and they're trying to say that this election is fraudulent. And I made the point to say, fam, no, it's different. If you actually grab something from a warehouse and you have these paper trails and you go, look, these are ballots that were supposed to be at this precinct. These people didn't vote. Let's match it up. Let's see what's going on. It's different things. But when you're just grabbing bags of empty ballots and going, see, that's not proof, right? That's an accusation without proof. There's always going to be leftover election material. There's always going to be leftover paperwork. Yes, there should be ties to everything. I'm not making excuses for I don't want to say ignorance, but the sloppiness and the way this, the just complete inadequate ways of doing things. I don't want to make excuses for that, but they don't have proof that this was actually ballots that were supposed to be, for somebody else. They haven't connected the dots. Regarding the post about the electoral material found at the I.E. Manuel Gonzalez Prada, which is the San Juan de Lorragan show, we clarified the facts, right? And this is it. This is where they were starting to grab stuff and going, look at this. We got them. We caught them red-handed. No, you didn't, because all you did was grab a bunch of empty ballots. So, too, it says, after jointly collecting and reviewing the finding with the head of the ODPE and the special election jury, we confirm that it is unused contingency electoral material. It didn't belong to anybody. Guys, remember we were saying this, and I was saying, guys, you got to look at this. They're just going to grab these bags and go, see, this is the smoking gun. It is not the smoking gun. Furthermore, it is specified that in said polling place, the electronical solution for the scrutiny support, the STAE, was used for the counting and recording of votes. So they have connected the dots, the OMPE. Does this excuse them for their ignorance and their lack of ability to get things done? No, not at all. It's really, really bad what has happened. This is not a good election, but this is not proof that the election was fraudulent and put for one other person. You can't grab bags of material and ballots and go, look at what we got. You can start the trail and say this is no good, but fam, this is not the smoking gun in which they're trying to put forth. Those weren't ballots connected to anybody. They haven't proven that those were ballots that were either tainted, twisted, voted for somebody else didn't get the vote. Granted, I want to point it out because I think it's bad, the fact that they didn't open up these places on a Sunday and then they try to kick it to a Monday, people go to work. It's not going. You can make the argument that that wasn't a fair election, but what they're trying to do is manipulate the mistakes made by the OMPE and try to take advantage of that, and they're trying to weaponize the whole situation, fam.
Yeah, exactly. And you have Porky saying that it's fraud, and he's weaponized it to the nth degree.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that in 1 second, too, as well. But I want to play this video because what has happened is the head of the OMPE has resigned, right? Mm-hmm. He has stepped down. This is a little video we have on YouTube from YouTube, but we're going to play this really quickly. Fam, I don't know if you have any opinions about that. I think he should have resigned. I think this is on his hands. It is fucked up. But if you have any thoughts to say before we play this, please let me know.
No, play it.
Peru's top elections official Piero Corvetto resigned on Tuesday under mounting pressure over delays in counting votes from the country's April 12 general election. He previously acknowledged logistical problems, but denied that any irregularities took place. In his resignation letter posted on X, Corvetto said leaving the post was necessary and unavoidable to rebuild public confidence ahead of the June 7 presidential runoff and allow unresolved issues to be investigated. Conservative frontrunner Keiko Fujimori welcomed the decision.
With the runoff ahead, this was good news for Peru and good news for Peruvians that this man stepped aside. Beyond his departure, I also think it was very important for the relevant institutions. The Controller's Office, the National Board of Justice, the Public Prosecutor's Office, and the press itself, to look into what happened in this first round.
Left-wing Congressman and presidential candidate Roberto Sanchez struck a more measured tone.
The system matters more than the individual. A well-organized system is more reliable than any one office holder. But if action has to be taken, then it should be taken properly and with due process.
The delays in the vote count have sparked fraud claims from several candidates and calls for Corvetto to be replaced from business leaders and lawmakers. However, European Union observers said last week that they found no evidence of fraud. Election authorities are now reviewing thousands of contested ballots, pushing the final outcome even further back. With nearly 94% of votes counted, Fujimori remains in the lead, while a razor-tight race for second place continues, with final results expected no later than mid-May.
Fam.
One of the smart things that Sanchez said there is this is not about the individual, it's about the system.
Yeah.
So again, if this happened, it's a systemic issue then. What is going on? There's obviously corruption, but like this has to be fixed at the root or it's gonna happen again and again, right? This is like not there are obvious interests here where we have to look at he's the fall guy. He should step down because he's the one that this happened under. So of course that's like a normal PR move to do when you're trying to save face and make sure that the entity, the OMPE as a whole is like looked at with credibility again. Well, they have to do this. If not, they're not going to be looked on with credibility. But what's happening is it's being weaponized by the very people I think are the ones doing this. And the areas that were disenfranchised the most were San Juan de Lurigancho, San Juan de Miraflores. These are the most poor, crime-ridden areas. And there's a reason why those were targeted. That is going to make a lot of them angry. A lot of people were angry the days we were there. We talked to them. You guys all saw. And it really tends to turn the people against the government. and it turns to just rile up emotions rather than logical reactions. And that's kind of what they want going into this election. And there's so many layers to it as well: cultural, ethnic, financial, to the differences in the candidates with this election.
It's, for me, it's just so hard to believe too that they were that incompetent. And
no, I don't believe it for a second.
What I'm saying? So once again, who is this coming from? Did this come from an entity that was trying to remove Sanchez and it backfired because he had so much support? Did this come from the left trying to make sure that they didn't have Porky in the runoff with Keiko, and they succeeded? Right? Everybody's going to ask these questions and whatnot, but definitely the incompetence of the OMPE was just, second to none. And he did have to step down. I think it was the most important thing moving forward. And if they do have a fair election, because this is simple, we're not talking about computers being delivered or anything serious. We're talking about paper and cardboard stuff that need to be delivered to the right place. They should all have been delivered the next day, and the opening process should be opening up in front of everybody. It was a kind of amazing in a negative way to see this stuff. Fam, with this being said, Porky, who wants Donald Trump to come in, you made a little tweet. Why don't you tell us what it's all about?
Right. So I said the far right candidate, because he is far right. He's considered far right by people I've spoken to who are right and conservative, and they say, no, he's too far right for us. So he's not as popular as people think. I mean, I think he is quite popular in the Malay circles, but in Lima, once you go outside of Lima, he has hardly anybody. So he's been claiming that a lot of his votes there were turned against him when he's not popular there anyway. So he's vying to be the next Peruvian president. This is Aliaga. He's known as Porky. He said he welcomes U.S. intervention in Peru. He applauded Trump's invasion of Venezuela and the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro. He has threatened to kill the former chief of the OMPE, the electoral a person in charge of Peru's election process, the guy that Pasta just showed, resign. He's starting to kill him. And if he doesn't make it through the second round, he's threatened to sue him, to go after him, but also to kill him. Then this is happening, and this is what I want to get into in the next section. This will lead us right into it, is the Congress has effectively overpowered the president and forcefully, against the wishes of the public and other political officials, accepted the F-16s and other military equipment that Trump demanded. I don't know if you guys caught, Trump went on the other day demanding that Peru take its F-16s. This is going to cost Peru $3.5 billion. Peru has other needs right now: income inequality, crumbling infrastructure, crime, all of these things to focus on. And they're focused on buying F-16s. So do you think Peru actually needs F-16s? I can tell you 100% that they don't need F-16s. But the United States needs Peru to have F-16s. That's the reality. This is not normal. A country like Peru does not have a need for F-16s. They're not going to war, are they?
No, but just in case the Argentinians attack, right? Or the Chileans.
No,
what happens if the Chileans attack, fam? They need F-16s. I mean, it is stupid. It's ridiculous. And it just shows you the corruption that's going on there. Porky's trying to make alliance with the empire. He doesn't give a shit about his people. That's why he shouldn't be fucking president. And that was a great tweet that you put up there. So obviously, Sanchez is going to respond, fam. Now, I'm going to put on the translation over here so people can read it. But then, do you want to translate it yourself? Or do you want me to just... now the translation's not working. Am I coming? Okay. Oh, man. I am just having one of those days, fam. The translation doesn't look like it's working. All right, fam. I'm going to play it, and why don't you just listen and see what he has.
En medio de todo ello, el Jurado Nacional de Elecciones pretende evaluar las elecciones complementarias desconociendo el derecho del voto de las regiones. Eso no lo vamos a tolerar. Llamamos a las fuerzas patrióticas, democráticas, al pueblo rural, al pueblo andino a que se movilice a defender la voluntad democrática, el voto popular, y llamar a la comunidad internacional, que son observadores de este proceso, para que puedan preservar los estándares de un proceso electoral democrático, transparente y que respete el voto de las regiones del Perú que ya han hablado y respaldan a Juntos por el Perú.
So he's saying that the J&E, or the electoral judiciary, threatened to recount a lot of these areas, these rural areas he specifically referred to, that supported him largely because of the calls of fraud. And he wants the people of the Andean regions to rise up and demand a fair electoral process. So he thinks that they're trying to manipulate the election in these areas outside of Lima against him, knowing full well that these areas are largely the indigenous areas that tend to support a candidate like Sanchez. So he was telling people to make their demands heard.
And fam, this over here is the same, a little bit more of the same. He actually made a video on this. And it says, "We will defend the popular vote. The vote of the Peruvians, especially from the heartland of the Peru, will be respected. Yep. We will not take a step back." I'm just going to play it really quickly.
Hermanos y hermanas de la región Cajamarca.
First they would put cumbia.
Estaremos con ustedes el miércoles 22 de abril. Gracias por invitarnos, porque este es el momento de defender la voluntad popular. Este es el momento de defender el voto de Cajamarca, el voto de los peruanos del Perú profundo. El miércoles en Mamamarca.
Linda pastorcita, tú eres mi ilusión de mi corazón.
This is Cajamarca, it's north. This is North Peru. We should actually go there.
I would love to go there.
Once Pasta's here. It's in the north part of Peru, and it's I wouldn't say it's the most rural place, but it is. It has its regions. He's saying that you need to defend their vote. He's already campaigning, knowing that full well what he's taking on. And honestly, guys, it's going to be an uphill battle for him. Again, people are still blaming Pedro Castillo for corruption. India asks, why is Castillo in jail? Castillo's in jail because he tried to put out a new constitution, which is very much needed in Peru, because the current constitution was changed to give Congress far too much power. And this is why you've had 10 presidents in the last 10 years, because they can't govern thanks to the Congress. It stalls everything. It handicaps, it freezes Peru. And so therefore, he tried to do that, fell in a trap where they said they caught him accepting a gift from a Chinese businessman or some bullshit like that, which for example, anything you do, anything you receive can be turned into being looked on as you taking corruption. In the United States, this is open. Like, we have lobbyists, we have all of this, but in Peru is actually, and a lot of Latin American countries, it's less out there. If you get caught in that, because people do it, but if you get caught, then they turn around and try to say like you're a corrupt official. What they did to Cristina, what's her name? In Argentina, the same thing. They put out corruption charges that were bogus, and they entrapped him. They said that he was trying to coup the Peruvian government, and for that they jailed him. He was betrayed by some within his party, and Dina Boluarte, the vice president, was one of the people that betrayed him. And then he also wanted to nationalize the lithium, which I think, behind everything I just said, that is one of the most dangerous things for the multinational corporations, particularly Washington, that has already said that everything is theirs, essentially.
Yeah.
And so that he talked about Peru is not Lima. So Peru is not Lima, meaning like it's more than the capital. It's the areas that are forgotten, the indigenous populations whose voices never get heard. So he talked about this, and he let out this idea that said no more poor people in a rich country, because Peru is very natural resource rich, and obviously they have a lot of infrastructure issues, many problems with crime, and problems they shouldn't have. It should be a very wealthy country, but the rich just keep going out of the country. So those are the things he was tackling, and now he ends up in jail, right? And so there is no way in hell that if the left were running Peru, that he would still be in jail. Like, they would have already got him out of jail. Like, this would be a done deal. The left isn't running Peru. The far right is a country run by neoliberal interests where the majority of people in the capital are very capitalist, very money driven, think that the United States is their friend, and are willing to sell out the country just to gain the effects of Washington. That's the reality of Lima, of the people in Lima. They think the United States is great. And the people who are older, I would say 50 and up, are more conservative, and they favor like Keiko or Aliaga more, whereas the youth is a little bit more, if they favor conservatives, it's like a more reasonable conservative. And if they're looking for people like Sanchez, they're looking for people that think differently, that want to advance the country. So there's definitely an age divide.
Yeah. Looking at the class issue more than everything else. And there is a racial issue to the class issue by far. Yeah. You know, there's a guy out there, I think a lot of people
look at Porky.
Yeah. What's that?
I mean, look at Porky.
White.
I mean, he's very white, right? Like that's the reality. That's his base.
It is. That's what people don't understand. Like, I was just going to mention the guy Sneeko, who was kind of made a video the other day, and you know, I think he's of Arab descent or whatever, and you know, he was like, I used to be the person who think that, you know, just the way I looked, it was racially profiled, but then I put on a suit and I act like an adult, and I'm not causing problems, and look, it's not, you know. But I don't think a lot of people understand it until you go to Latin America or these other places where you see the actual racial aspect play into play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The whiter Latinos do seem to be more empire friendly, seem to have a disgust or a disdain for the indigenous people of that country. And, you know, I mean, Fiorella can attest to this, that Latin people, you know, can be the most racist people to their own kind at times.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? In America, we see that all the time. A lot of Latin American born people, you know what I'm saying, how they're just disdain for people coming across the border. It's so startling to me. And it's the same way with my Italian family, you know, like they're anti-immigrant. Meanwhile, we're all descendants of immigrants. We were called WAPs without papers. We didn't have anything. They didn't know where we were. They didn't know where we were coming from, but they let us in. And now we want to deny the immigrant today that same story and try to demonize them as if they're more, you know, violent and more criminal-like. Men. The numbers show on the FBI website the majority of crimes committed in this country are committed by white men that were born here, by far. So it's
not the Somalians,
huh?
You mean it's not the Somalians?
No, not at all.
I thought it was the Somalians.
Don't get me upset, fam, because I was really upset that there were people attacking the Somalians in Minnesota when the community was beloved. It was a great community. There were 40 people who were arrested, and they wanted to try to make it look like it was a Somalian problem. I forgot her last name, Allison something. She used to work for OAN. I've been on a show a couple of times. She keeps going up to Ilhan Omar to try to get her in these gotcha moments, and she just keeps getting fucking destroyed by Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar told the other day, like, I don't want to tell you shit because you're stupid. How about that? And she walked away. I'm like, what the fuck is the?
We're not even like hyping up Ilhan Omar. It's just
no,
the fact
but
that
I mean,
these people are morons.
We have the dumbest people, and I don't consider Allison to be stupid, but she's just not prepared getting into this. Why is Pedro Castillo jailed? I think Fiorella explained that. You know, he tried to dissolve the Congress. The main reason why I think he was taken out is he wanted to nationalize that lithium. Right. You know, there's other resources here that are rich. You know, there's a lot of Western influence. Right. Like you can't get ivermectin by the pills anymore. You can only get it in liquid form. Yeah. Sorry, my friend. I'll send it to you, but it's only in liquid form, no pills. And that has to be some influence from the West that's doing that. Right. Because when I was in Peru before, I used to get ivermectin pills everywhere. So there is a big Western influence. And it's no surprise that 2 days after they jailed Pedro Castillo, the CIA showed up to let the interim president know that the United States. Huh?
Was it Laura Richardson?
I think so.
Yeah. She came to Peru right after.
She showed right after and was like, "We got your back. Keep him in jail."
That's Southcom.
They came in from the outer limits and stuff too as well. The indigenous. I don't think they went far enough, fam. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think they want.
Guys, I'm gonna go into this pretty quickly next because it's kind of going to make you really depressed. And I kind of gave a hint as to what it is, but I have to write an article on this because this is just the Epstein cabal is coming for Latin America, to put it bluntly. Okay. So before Trump was president, we said Pasta, that West Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America would be their main focus. And of course, here we are. And that's exactly what's happening in Iran. But a lot of people aren't looking at what's happening in South America because everybody's focused on potential nuclear war over there, right? So this is kind of getting thrown under the bus, but this is the next target area. And not even next, it's simultaneously, because we saw what happened with Venezuela, we see what's happening with Cuba, and the threats against Mexico, Colombia, et cetera, right? So they're going to Ecuador, Peru next. And I want you to understand what I mean by that.
Yeah.
They are going to use the narco excuse that this is a narco terrorism that's encapsulating Peru, that we need to take over and make sure things don't get out of hand. So this happened in Ecuador, where the United States basically started sending the DEA, sending all of this military structure in Ecuador. Ecuador that, by the way, before had Correa, that had a more left-wing government. The moment all of that happened and Ecuador shifted right, we saw violence in the streets, paramilitary forces, and it's just gone worse from then, right? And I mentioned Correa for a very specific reason, because this is what's happening next. So the United States has been going after the cartels supposedly in Ecuador. So that's one of the main things I want to point out, okay? So now the ambassador of Peru, as I think I told you guys this before, the ambassador of Peru has been a new guy that has a Peruvian wife, but he's Puerto Rican. And he has been pushing Peru away from China. He's trying to get China out of there. And the U.S. ambassador to Peru just stated, Peru is key, Peru es clave. Okay, it's a phrase that some people like saying in jest, whatever, but Peru is key, right? And this is as the U.S. just donated 6 Blackhawks, guys. 6 donated, because nothing is free. 6 Blackhawks to Peru. They also donated Peru also just accepted, against the president's will, who said, no, we're not doing that. They went after him. Remember, Porky went after that president and said, no, we need to accept these F-16s and blah, blah, blah. So that's $3.5 billion for the F-16, as I said. But here's what the Peruvian the ambassador to Peru said. Peru is key from the U.S. ambassador after the donation of 6 Black Hawk helicopters to bolster fight against drug trafficking. The aircraft will operate in Ucayali, San Martin, and Loreto. Guys, Peru's drug trafficking problem was summarized very nicely 6 years ago by one of the leaders for Pedro Castillo's party. If there's any drug trafficking via cocaine or any of this, because Peru has, like Bolivia, coca, right? The coca leaves, and you guys should drink coca leaves if you can, if you're ever in Peru, because coca leaves are basically just chewed, or they're made in a tea to give you energy, especially help with the elevation issues that people have when you go to higher elevations. So that's what they're used for. Okay, but of course you can make cocaine out of that. So the whole narrative is that Peru is facing a huge drug problem, which they're not. We know where the drugs are mostly coming in through. And that just like Venezuela and just like Ecuador, they're going to need the U.S.'s help to face this. Fam, I want to hear your take on this right now so far.
You know, well, my mind is spinning. Jayme, you're good on this right now. You're gonna jump back in, right, Jayme? Or no? You want me to continue, Jayme?
Fam, just talk. Okay.
I just want to make sure that, he has the next thing set up. But yeah, I mean, my head is spinning when it comes to this stuff, because you hit it on the nose, right? They're going to use the cartel excuse to go into Latin America to sell, weapons and military gear to these other, leaders and whatnot. And that's why it's very important, you know what I'm saying? Because we're looking at Peru right now. We're trying to figure out what's going on as far as these fuck-ups with these elections, because we know damn well that the person that they do not want in charge, there were 2 people that the United States did not want in charge of Peru. Ricardo Belmont, who finished like 5th or something. He got some decent amount of votes, but he even said, I'm not going to vote because this thing is ridiculous. And Roberto Sanchez Palomino. We knew that I think, in personally, my own personal opinion, and I don't know, but from what I'm looking at, if I'm just looking at this from what the extensive knowledge I have, where I have more knowledge about Peru than the everyday American, I would think that there would be another leader like Roberto Sanchez that would try to do what Castillo did, and that is nationalize the lithium and say, go ahead, throw me in jail. Sooner or later, they know they have the numbers. They understand that Lima cannot hold Peru, that if they come in with those indigenous hats, even if they're throwing rocks and fucking spinning it around, if they have the mentality of an Iranian, where we're ready to die, well, you martyr us. We're not going to let you take our country, take our resources, destroy our Amazon, because they also know that what the United States does when they extract all these things in the Amazon, they destroy it. And if we kill the pink dolphins, remember the pink dolphins, fam? If we kill the pink dolphins, then we die. We need the Amazon. It is the lungs of the world. It is the filter of what's going on. We need it badly. The United States doesn't care. They destroy it. And the West doesn't care. It destroys it. So those people have a lot more to at stake than just a president in charge. So I understand that they can't have this guy in there, but we also understood from the get-go. And once again, they can pull this off. And some of my intelligent comedian friends would say this, well, the cartels are running Mexico. No, they are not. And by the way, my last tweet before I got fucking 86th was going after Dan Blazarian, who said the Jewish mafia killed all these people to put a Jew in power in Mexico. And he does not understand the fucking region. He doesn't understand the candidate. We've talked about this before. You know what I'm saying? There are fucking blind spots when it comes to Scheinbaum. I don't like what's going on with all these digital things. I don't like her dealing with BlackRock, but if she wants to build these railroads, if she wants to get poor people fucking houses and food, there's something needs to be done. It's a quagmire. But we knew from the get-go, we've been talking about this, from them wanting to go in, from people like Dan Crenshaw, who's out of office now, all the other fucking right-wing fucking extremists that think that it's okay that the cartels are in charge of Mexico. They are not, okay? That they can just go in there and use this excuse that they have to start these cartels. They'll do so. Now they're doing it and doubling down, saying, Peru, you need to buy these Blackhawks. You need to buy these F-16s. We need to get rid of these drug wars. They're going to use the cartels and the drug trade, which is run by the CIA. It's been run for quite some time. We know this. Freeway Rick Ross, right? The whole fucking Iran-Contra thing. There's been no change there, guys, whatsoever. We know the CIA is the fucking drug runners of the world. Not just in the United States, of the fucking world, right? Fucking from the Taliban holding the poppy fields in goddamn fucking Afghanistan. We understand what's at play here, but the fact that we have ignorant, low-informed Americans, they're going to try and pull this off. Now it's all about we have to stop the drug cartels. That's what this move was all about, fam, over here. You said it. We know it. We can see it. They don't want Pedro. They don't want Pedro Castillo's next guy, Roberto Sanchez, in there. So they're going to do everything they can to stop it.
Yeah, they want Peru to essentially, and Peru's already not. I mean, it's not Venezuela. It's not even Colombia. You know, they've already been led by a lot of right-wing governments. Like I said, it's a very right-wing country, especially in terms of the capital, but not just the capital. Like even outside of the capital, you have ample support for the right wing, more than you should. There's a lot of ignorance there. There's a lot of belief that, you know, the United States would help. There's a lot of belief that other companies other countries are necessary to get involved. And China has been involved. China is the factor of competition for the United States and Peru, which is why Peru's very important for the United States right now. China didn't want the acceptance of these F-16s for Peru because they know what the United States is planning. They know this is a huge part of that. China is participating in Latin America as well as Africa. We have seen that. So what this turns into, guys, it's a war for resources, right? And the two most powerful countries right now fighting for that are going to be the United States and China. That's what we're headed to, right? And so a lot of people assume that China, because they go in with a more diplomatic aim, with a more win-win kind of attitude, that this is all fine and dandy. But the reality is China and the United States economies are so intricately linked that it's going to be more about that than it is about saving Latin America or protecting Latin America. It's more about like, hey, can you work with me for this and I'll take this and you get this. It's not going to be about this ideological fight that I think a lot of people were expecting. So I just want to move into the next tweet, right? Because there's a lot of claims going back to the election. There's a lot of claims here. What I'm referring to here is in this tweet, they say Pedro Corbeto was detained, as we saw earlier, right? He was the guy that was the head of the electoral organ that oversaw the elections. And so they're saying that this account is saying that he prohibited 1 million votes in favor to cheat, basically, for Roberto Sanchez. But there's no proof of that. So I'm saying this is all fake news and supposition. The elections were a disaster, but there's zero evidence it was done by the left in Peru, which has zero power in Lima. The left has zero power in Lima. You're going to find maybe one or two people in government that are actual leftists. I mean, in Congress right now, they have a faction, but it's not very powerful. It's overwhelmed by the right. They have a few in Congress, and I said, remember, Pedro Castillo's in jail for bogus charges because he threatened to change the constitution. The Tenica Peru's Congress was too much power, so no president can ever govern, as we've seen. He wanted to nationalize the lithium. 10 presidents in 10 years. Keiko runs the country already. This is something that I've been told by the people of this country multiple times across all political sectors. Okay, so they all agree that Keiko is a huge problem and they don't want her in. So usually whoever runs against her wins. That's why they're so afraid of Sanchez getting in there, because he has a big chance of winning the election if he runs against her in the general. So this fraud likely came from within the Keiko mafia. That's what it's called, based on who has the power in these institutions. She has people in the OMPE. She has people in the JNE. She has people in Congress. She has people supported by multinational corporations. And so an overwhelming majority of Peruvians reiterate this fact. They say she's basically running the country already, that she might as well be president because she basically is the president right now. All decisions are made by her and her party already. So this is all to secure a U.S. puppet in the next election because they want another Milei figure. Donald Trump would love a Milei. The Democrats would do well with a Keiko Fujimori. Either way, you're going to get the same result, where Latin America becomes essentially a neo-colony under their Washington's control, right? And so they just overruled the F-16 thing. And at this rate, we're going to see Peru very much be like Argentina and Chile and all of these other countries that are basically non-sovereign anymore. And you have, of course, Milei dancing with Netanyahu and singing and spending more time in Israel than he does in his own country. I mean, this is again, they want to destabilize the country, take all of the resources, and create this Zionist technate that is going to be effectively ruled by their supremacy ideology and via surveillance. So everything that's happening right now in West Asia, I think, is coming to Peru. And I think it's coming to all of Latin America. They got Venezuela. They're going after Cuba. They're trying to go after Mexico. Let me tell you right now, in a few weeks, Colombia has elections. Gustavo Petro is not running again. Gustavo Petro has been a pain in the ass for Donald Trump and Washington. There is a leading candidate there who is set to be the candidate that is backed by Petro, but he's going to be running against the neoliberal candidates that are backed by the United States. Colombia's election is extremely important. After Colombia's election is Brazil's election in October. Brazil's election is another one that's extremely, extremely important. And I want to reiterate just how important it is, because there's so much oil that is still left in Latin America besides Venezuela. And what the United States is doing right now in Iran, essentially, is they're trying to weaponize the war to profit off of it and attain profits from the oil, right? So that's what they're trying to do. This is what they've been trying to do for the entirety of the war. We've seen that. But as soon as the war continues and the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, the United States is still supplying itself with oil because they have Venezuela. They have their own oil that we produce, and they're fine. But everybody else is not fine, right? But that's only going to last for so long. There's a lot of oil to be taken in Brazil, guys, and I want to show you guys this specific tweet. I'm going to try to bring it up here. Let me see if I can do it. Here it is. All right, I got it here. No, it's the next one. This one. Okay, so you guys see this here? Let me make it bigger. So it says Latin America will add more barrels in the next 5 years than the previous 2 decades. I want you to take a look at how Brazil leads in Latin America's oil resurgence, crude oil production estimates, 2025 to 2030. Lovely date, 2030. So that's 2025, right, in blue. In black, it's 2030. By 2030, 4.6 million. Venezuela, 1.08 million. Then by 2030, 1.5 million. Venezuela, the United States has. Mexico is intrinsically linked with the United States. Mexico is the only one that we're seeing a reduction. Argentina, look at that. They have Argentina too. Guyana, they have Guyana. Colombia, there's supposed to be a reduction right now. If they take Colombia, they can take this and magnify it. Ecuador, they have Ecuador. Suriname, Trinidad and Tobago, less and less, and then Peru is coming in there at last. So yes, this is about oil to a degree, right? We're seeing that this is about oil, but sorry guys, there's like a freaking person outside. But more than oil though, this is, I think, moving us towards the Agenda 2030, because when we look at what Agenda 2030 does, it talks about divesting away from fossil fuels, right? If you can capture all of this energy and all of these resources, the lithium, the copper, the gold, the silver, and everything that is in these minerals that are in Latin America and in Africa, you're going to be able to compete in the next phase, which is going to be dealing with surveillance, with tech, with AI, all of that. And that's kind of what they're gearing into. Now, the United States needs a military base in order to combat China. So it's not just that they're looking to combat China, is like they're looking to they know what's coming and they want to control as much of it as possible and just be able to have this economic war with China. And the thing is, China is doing the same thing, but they're not operating with the same strategy and tactics that we operate in the United States, right? So this is I think what we need to look at. I think a lot of people are not really looking at this, at the greater picture of what all of this is. But yeah, I think it's important, and I think that's where we should really point to in this. Let me pull up the other folder now. 1 second. Sorry, there's like literally, it's so loud. I know, I'm sorry. And then I think that is it, unless there's something else that I'm missing. Yeah, I think that's it for that section, Jayme. Can you pull up the next tweet that you have on there? Oh, okay, yeah. So give me a second. I'm gonna try to. Okay, so this is Malay. He appointed a 23-year-old Libertarian University dropout as a deputy manager in a state-owned nuclear power company. A dystopian satire has now replaced reality. Can you pull it up, Jayme? Can you scroll it up? So, okay. Okay. Yeah, Ezequiel Acuña, a 23-year-old known on social media for his libertarian activism, has been appointed deputy manager of corporate social responsibility of Nucleo Electrica Argentina, the state-owned company that manages the Atachua 1, Atucha 2, and Embalse Nuclear Power Company. He looks like a baby. He looks like a child. He looks like a child. This is insane. And then the next thing is Milei dancing with Netanyahu, and I just had to bring that one up because this is disgusting. If you guys just play it for now, just play it. Turn up the volume. So he's saying he was singing "I'm very, very free," blah blah blah. Notice how the Argentinian flag and the Israeli flag have similar colors. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but Argentina is one of the only areas where it's like super. You know, a lot of the Nazis went to, right? It's well known for that. I don't know. I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but I want to point this out for a bigger reason, though. Guys, 300,000 Israelis just went to Argentina, and I believe I mentioned this months ago, but that was the plan even a few years ago. And now, I don't think this is just going to be Argentina. I think what we're going to see is the infiltration of the Zionists pretty much everywhere in Latin America. And there already are many, but this is getting bigger. And it's not just about people being Jewish. It's about the Zionist mentality, the supremacist ideology, right? That to me is the bigger deal of all of this. So I don't know. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, damn, like this is not coincidental that this is all happening at the same time. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that is a coincidence. Okay, Jayme, on the next section, I think that was Pasta's section. So I don't know if Pasta's coming back because he's the one that did that section. I don't know if you can give him a call while I chat a bit, or if you can try to get him, because if not, I'd rather do that section with him, and I'd rather just chat with the chat. So you guys, that's pretty much what I'm going to be focused on right now, because it's not just as isolated as having one election. It's more of like having multiple elections and what that means. And next year is Nicaragua. So next year, Nicaragua is one of the last standing bastions of any sort of revolutionary spirit, right? They took on the United States head on. The thing that worries me about Latin America is they don't have the capacity. They're not Iran, right? They don't have the military capacity to actually fight against the United States. There's no way. If Venezuela couldn't do it, you're not going to see anybody in the region do it. You're not going to see it at all. Nobody is, as much as, for example, the indigenous people might come into Peru and might try to get on a fight. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see it at all. They're not going to be able to fight head to head with a U.S. army. Most of the weapons that they have come from the United States. The only way that would happen is if there was a Iran or China type of alliance, which I don't think exists. So, Pasta, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm so sorry. I had to take care of something with my mother. I apologize. I had to drop off. Somebody was at the door, and I'm the only one here, so I had to go grab it. I do apologize, fam. Jayme, you can go ahead and do your thing, and I'll continue on. What's the next thing? Put the next thing up, and I'll just jump over from after that. So go ahead.
It's your section, Pasta. The next one.
We finished the last section in Latin America. Okay. Fam, guess who's going to be with us on Monday? Karen Kwiatkowski will return to the show. You know, by the way, did you tell people that they're eating donkey meat in Peru? I mean, in Argentina. Did you see that whole thing? Yeah. Let me get this up. Okay, so even as we're supposed to have a ceasefire, we're supposed to everything's supposed to calm down in Israel, Gaza. Remember they had the whole friggin' ceasefire, whatnot. That was supposed to include Lebanon. It surely hasn't included Gaza. This is one of the hardest videos that I've seen in my life, says this person who posted. A man from Gaza is crying in agony, holding a hammer as he searches for his 4 children beneath the rubble. A moment we must never forget. I want to remind everybody, Tim, American weapons that are doing this. American weapons are doing this. This is what we're doing. This is what your tax dollars are doing every single day. We need to recognize this. I've had enough, guys. My patience is lost with people out there who are still trying to say this is okay. We're still trying to say this is all right. Who's still trying to say this is not us. Who are still trying to say this is Israel. No, this is fucking wrong. And it's still going on to this day. It hasn't slowed down. It's not going to slow down. It's not going to stop until we stop it. In from antiwar.com. Let me put this up. Here we go. Israeli airstrike in northern Gaza kills at least 5 Palestinians, including 3 children. An Israeli strike in northern Gaza on Wednesday night killed at least 5 Palestinians, including 3 children. The Palestinian news agency WAFA reported as the IDF continues its constant violations of the U.S.-backed ceasefire deal. A WAFA correspondent said the strike struck a group of Palestinians near a mosque in Bet Lahai, and other people were injured in the strike. Photos from social media now appear to be the 3 young boys who were killed in the attack. And I think they took it down, because what's going on now on Twitter is that they are purging Iranian voices. They are purging Gaza voices. They're full-on attack, mockingbird medium, control the narrative. That's what's going on. Israeli attacks hit other parts of Gaza earlier on Wednesday, including the Baruch refugee camp, again, striking refugee camps in the central part of the Strip, where at least 4 Palestinians were injured by Israeli gunfire. WAFA also reported that an Israeli airstrike on a group of Palestinians working on the rubble of their home killed at least 1 person. Fam, we're supposed to have a ceasefire. I don't know what's going on there, but there is no ceasefire, and they're continuing to kill Palestinians. And what about Lebanon, right? Here we go again. Ceasefire is supposed to take place. Let me bring this one up. Israel kills at least 5 in southern Lebanon strikes ahead of Thursday's talks. Oxfam report warns Israeli increasingly targeting in southern Lebanon's water. So here they are. We're supposed to have a ceasefire. Remember, Donald Trump was all boasting and bragging about it, but Israel continues to carry out airstrikes against southern and eastern Lebanon in spite of the ongoing 10-day ceasefire today, killing at least 5 people in airstrikes and wounding several others so far on Wednesday. The first strike was in the western Bekaa Valley in Javor, which killed 1 person and wounded 2 others. Later, 2 other people were killed in an Israeli airstrike against a car in the village of Al-Tiri. The Al-Tiri toll rose as Israel subsequently attacked the building, trapping journalists within who were covering the first strike. The 2 were found dead in that building, including a reporter, and another was in the hospital, was hospitalized in very serious condition. So not only are they killing people, not only are they killing journalists, they are ignoring the ceasefire. They are still killing children, women and children on a regular basis, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down. And that's what I got so far with that, fam. I know this isn't surprising to you.
No, it's not surprising. And sorry for the noise. They're literally cutting the hedges right outside my window. I encourage everybody to watch the interview I did with Marwa, because she talks exactly about this, because this article is like a few days old now. And they've done more since then. They've been killing journalists, killing people, completely bombing every infrastructure, several dozens of bridges. I mean, it's fascistic as it comes.
Yeah. Fam, you mentioned earlier, before I get to this, because I want to point this out, that it's Israel in San Francisco, right? This is where the governor who wants to be the president, right? This is where he resides. Israel and San Francisco, in honor of Israel's Independence Day, San Francisco City Hall was lit in blue and white. And there it is, fam. Israel in San Francisco, fam.
Cancel San Francisco. Just cancel it. I'm done. Like, how do people not protest this? How are you not in the streets protesting this bullshit? Oh, but it's anti-Semitic if we protest. No, it's not. What other country do we give this honor to? Really? We should, if we're going to do it for Israel, do it for everybody then. Every Independence Day for every country in the world, put their flag up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. If it's really about why are we needing to bend over backwards over something that happened almost 100 years ago that now they're using to literally kill and exterminate and genocide millions of people. I don't care about the anti-Semitic bullshit anymore. I don't want to hear that word. It doesn't exist. It only exists against the Palestinians and the Lebanese people, the Semitic people that are getting completely destroyed, because most of these Israelis are from Manhattan, Brooklyn, or Poland, or Russia, or Ukraine. They're literally not even from the region. So you're not going to tell me that we can't, oppose this. This is absolutely ridiculous. We don't even celebrate like the American flag as much. We don't even celebrate like stuff like this for anything, for Memorial Day, this is now like in your face. They're telling you what's going on. They're telling you who's running the show here. And I'm not saying Israel controls America. I am saying Zionist supremacist interests are clearly being dominated here. And it's this, they're using Israel because they know they can get away with it, because somebody will cry about anti-Semitism. And this is exactly what happens both with liberals and conservatives, because the mainstream liberal and conservative class supports Israel.
Yeah.
There's no difference for them.
So it's funny when you see these places, these entities, these cities, these states, these countries, if they support Israel, you know that the elites are in charge, right? That's a clear sign, fam. Would that be honest? Is that a true statement that in San Francisco it's controlled by elites, and if a state honors Israel, it's controlled by elites? If a country honors Israel this way, it's controlled by elites. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
I mean, I've just never seen countries like Lebanon or, Syria before the fall. And even in most Latin American countries until recently, they haven't really been pushing Israel to that level. Now, of course, what we're seeing is that Peru. Yeah. I wanted to bring that up.
Peru.
Look at that.
So this is when we were talking about, we know the left and the indigenous class in Peru doesn't have power, because we know who has power in Peru, fam. Here you go. Peru. The government of Peru extends its greetings to the state of Israel on the occasion of the commemoration of its national day, and it conveys its best wishes for its well-being of the Israeli people. There you are, fam.
Neither as an American or as a Peruvian, I completely disagree with that. And I think a lot of people disagree with that. I think a lot of people, in fact, remember, fam, the people we ran into when we were in the center of Lima, we were talking to these tourists one was wearing a watermelon shirt. Yeah. I mean, the world hates Israel. The world hates Israel. They don't like them. Nobody likes them. You're only being sold a lie. You're being sold a lie that the majority of the world loves Israel. No, it's only the people who profit, who have relationships, or who are Israeli or Zionist connected themselves. But the majority of the people of the world hate Israel with good reason. Everything that they've done now is up for everybody to see. So don't let them gaslight you into thinking the world supports Israel. No, what is the world? You are the world, not the people who manipulate things behind the scenes. There's like a good, maximum, let's say it's 200 people. Like we're billions of people. We need to remember that we're billions of people. They only hold the power because we think that they're all powerful. But really, at the end of the day, if people would wake the hell up and realize what really is happening, then I think we would all know what goes down right after that. But it's got to come from the United States, guys. It has to come from all of you. There is no other way. I mean, short of somebody bombing the United States, there is no other way of changing things, guys. You can't fix this stuff. It's embedded. It's infiltrating into South America. That's what I talked about before you came on. That, not just the 300,000 of Zionists going into Argentina. There's already Zionists here in South America, and they're not liked by the people here. They're not. Everybody I meet, it's like, oh yeah, they were super rude, super mean, super this, super that. Like, I've never heard somebody be like, oh yeah, that was a very nice person from Israel. Because it's that mentality. You grow up with that mentality. It is a fascistic mentality. It cannot coexist with humanity. It just cannot. Okay, it cannot. It has to be faced the same way we faced the Nazis during World War II. That is the only way. You cannot work with this. If we allow this to continue, we're just going to descend into complete darkness. I sound like a broken record, but that's essentially what's going to happen. It's anti-Semitic, what you just said.
All right, fam. Since you're the anti-Semitic,
I don't care about getting nuked. We're already demonetized. We can't receive donations. We're already completely out of the algorithm. What are they going to do? Like, go ahead. You've already done it all.
Natalie Williams, which I want to thank you for your birthday gift. Natalie Williams and Dane Posner left me a little love on my personal, I think it was my Venmo. I'm pretty sure it was my PayPal or my Venmo or my Cash App. I think it was Venmo. Thank you. Now I'm getting call. Hey, buddy, can you call me back in like 5 minutes? I'm ending my show. Make it 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Every time you do, I lose a minute.
I know, 10 minutes.
Pasta, why do you answer the phone? Just
because I had
answer
to.
the phone.
I had to answer that phone. It's the source in Tehran, so I had to let
You
that
don't
person
understand.
He did. I have to answer it to get him to call back. Listen, everybody, Beauty and the Boomer tonight. Tomorrow, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific. I'll be one of the co-hosts over there with Oz. He poured his soul into this one. Is right. This is about a tribute to Shanda Master. So please join us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you can put a link in the chat, if you got it right now. If not, Beauty and the Boomer. It's Roar Media. I'm sure you'll see Amber come around too as well, and many other guests. Please come check it out. We want to pay tribute in the right way. So that's that. The last thing I have for you, fam, is because this is very important. We have to stay ahead. This is not just about a candidate running, right? This is about Vivek Ramaswamy, the way he's taken this on. He tried to distance himself from answering any of the questions. Now he's trying to say, no, I was the only one who said this. No, you didn't. You avoided the question. And believe you, I had a moment with Vivek Ramaswamy at the Libertarian Convention where he pretty much fucking ran away from me. He wouldn't answer the question, then he ran away. And that's what he's good at doing. In this particular situation, he's taking it on. And I would like to get your response to this, because this is now the talking point we get from some of the conservatives now about when you get asked questions about Israel. Here he is. Let me show it. Bring him on up. And watch the way he answers the question. First of all, this is his Twitter. And he says, yes, I got the now boringly standard question about U.S. aid to Israel. Here's what I said. You're watching the TruthWire, everybody. Make sure it's up. And
hi, my name is Nora Long. I'm a student here. As you know, the United States has spent $12 billion on Israel. This could provide for 3.5 million children with free healthcare for a year, 2 million families with a year's free groceries, or 600,000 families with a year's free rent. Since one of your main campaign promises is to provide for America first, will you commit to lobbying Congress to stop the funding of Israel?
So I'll say a couple of things, Nora. So I want to separate two important and different themes here. Okay, this is really important to hear from me. It's very personal to me for a reason. When I ran for president, what's that? We'll stick to Nora's question for now. So when I ran for president, I was the only Republican on that stage who actually said that in the long run, I think it was in the best interests of the United States, and for what it's worth in the best interests of Israel, but I'm looking after the interests of the United States, to say that $3.8 billion a year, it should be sunset. That's what I said. And I took a lot of heat for that when I ran for president. So that's one thing. That's geopolitics, foreign aid. That's one thing. But I would be incomplete if I did not also answer a second dimension to this question, which is that I do think it is strange, as the person who stood alone on the Republican debate stage and took criticism from people on both sides of me, and this hurt me in my presidential run. I will say this, it is beyond bizarre to me. The fixation on that $3.8 billion
Can you answer the
of the
fucking
federal
question or
budget,
what?
when you look at the extent of far more inexcusable waste, fraud, abuse in a lot of different directions, foreign aid to hundreds of other countries that we also should not be supporting, which raises a deeper question of what the heck is going on with this particular line item in that obsession. And I don't think it's just about saying how many more American lives we could have improved with that $3.8 billion, because you could be talking about $3 trillion that we could be recapturing and recovering from wind subsidies to third world country foreign aid that's actually a lot of which is corrupt. So here's, I'll tell you what I do think underlies it. I think it's this mentality that somehow it is a mindset that one country in the world and the U.S. relationship with it, or particularly even, let's just talk about it, Jewish Americans are somehow responsible for the struggles of Americans here. And I think that view is also ridiculous. And I don't think that we should be indulging this. So at once I can say that, do I think we should probably sunset long run $3.8 billion a year to Israel? I think it's in our interest, and for what it's worth, I think it's in Israel's interests too. And views have changed since I was up there 2 years ago. I think a lot of people who might have disagreed with me then agree now. But I will say that while also saying that the focus that smacks of, I would say, some anti-Semitic instincts of laser focusing on this without focusing on other problems is also weird, bizarre, and should probably also stop. So thank you.
I was just only asking
not for
because
you.
you mentioned it before, because
I'm not addressing that
before.
I'm not addressing that to you.
Asking.
Yeah, you were very fair in your presentation of it, but I get that question a lot, and I wanted to separate both of those components of my answer. So thank you, Nora.
So just yes or no, though, will you lobby Congress?
My focus is not on lobbying Congress. My focus is on leading Ohio to be the top state, lower costs, bigger paychecks, and better schools for you guys. That's my job. Foreign policy, somebody else's. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me just say off the bat real quick, fam, and I'll hand it over to you.
Foreign policy is another aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
what's he running as?
Ohio governor.
For Congress.
Ohio governor. Yeah.
Okay, but still.
Yeah. I mean, he made a point to give an opinion about it. You know, he could have just said what he said at the very end and said it again. He didn't have to go through his whole speech of making a point of saying, why are people so fixated on just Israel? We're wasting all this money everywhere else around there.
It's anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it's you know, the wokeism. Like we're doing transgender reassignment, funding that in Zimbabwe. We're teaching gay kids and whatever. You know, they always blame the woke stuff and all this other money that they're spending here and there. Let me just put a cherry on this right off the bat. The number one reason is why we should stop funding Israel, because the $3.8 billion we send them a year, and we send them more than that now with this whole war going on, is the fact they are using that money to kill women and children. Okay, it is the number one issue we have right now. It should be pulled away right away. Not sunset. Throw the fucking sun down. It should be yanked, right? Because that money is being used to kill women and children, mainly Palestinians, Lebanese, Syrians, you know, Iranians. It's being used to kill women and children, and that's why some of us are so fixated on that fucking number. Because they not only the fact that we just give them that money, is that they completely lobby our Congress. They have complete control of our Congress. And then people go, well, what about all this money that's thrown out by Qatar and the UAE and all these other, you know, the Roseanne Barr thing, right? The Muslim Brotherhood's really running our government. Well, we're not basing our foreign policy for the benefit of the UAE, for the benefit of the Qatar, for the benefit of all these other countries. Our foreign policy is 100% benefited for the United States empire and the Zionist state of Israel. That is why we are so
Their
fixated
foreign
on
policy.
the money. Go ahead, fam.
The Gulf is foreign policy is to benefit Israel. They are vassals of Zionist Israel. So whatever we work with them because they act as allies against Iran. That's the entire reason for their existence. And it was said so in the emails from WikiLeaks that Julian Assange put out regarding Syria, how they wanted to topple Bashar al-Assad and how they wanted to use the UAE, the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, etc., to actually weaponize and unite them against Iran. That's the entire point of this whole thing. So you can't even say anything about these countries because they're extensions of Zionist Israel, and anybody who knows anything about the foreign policy in the Middle East will tell you that. But I'm even angry that you brought this guy up because he's so freaking useless and dumb. And he's a typical freaking person that's going to be pushing Zionism in the same way. He's already doing it out of both sides of his mouth. He's going to continue to do it. I just, the Republican Party is not going to put out anybody that's actually anti-Zionist. And if they do, they're still going to be imperialists. That's the ultimate reality. You're going to watch them try to run JD Vance. You're going to watch them try to run somebody like affiliated with Tucker Carlson. You're going to see all of that happen, but it's not going to be the solution. Neither is any sort of progressive or candidate like we talked about, Buttigieg, or any of these morons. Like they're already going to start telling you to vote for somebody that's going to bring you something different than what we have. But it's all bullshit, guys. I'm not going to join any party. I'm not going to waste my time with these upcoming elections because it's all a shit show. And I will call you out if you go support a libertarian, if you go support a Green Party member. I don't care, because we don't have fair elections, and none of these people are actually going to be serious about doing what needs to be done to take on what we're facing. It's like literally, I don't know. It's like literally washing your face when you have like leprosy. Like you're not going to survive. That you're not offering a viable solution. Okay, you're literally dying, and you're not offering a viable solution. None of these. I will have zero patience with anybody throwing me in any of these candidates. I don't care where they're from. If they're supposedly independent, they're not serious if they're not talking about the fact that we don't have fair elections. They're not serious if they're not talking about the way that the government needs to change entirely. It needs to be redone. It is far too corrupt.
Yeah, it's way too far in the weeds. Guys, we want to remind you that tomorrow, Beauty and the Boomer, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be paying tribute to Shanda. On Monday, Colonel Karen Kwiatkowski will be back on the TruthWire talking to us. She's always been a great guest, so we'll have some fun with her. I want to thank Jayme CheeseSlice on the ones and twos. Guys, make sure you do not donate to that Give, Send, Go anymore. Somebody else donated like $5 the other day. I don't know why, but just don't do it anymore until we figure that stuff out. We're going to try to demand the money from them. Unfortunately,
Can you forward me the email, Pasta?
Sure can. My Twitter has been hacked, and I have to figure that out. I don't even know what's going on. I might just start a whole new Twitter. I'm going to work with Snow and see if I can get it back.
No, try to get it back, fam. Don't give up so easily. Try to fight back.
I know. I'm just, with the whole Give, Send, Go thing, with the whole YouTube thing, it's just been so fucking beyond frustrating at this point right now. I know I shouldn't give up, but a sense of me just like wants to give the fuck up. Like, I'm going to keep fighting. But, man, it's fucking just, do people not see this shit? Whatever. They fucked up with our whole livelihood. We'll do the best we can, guys. We want to thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you guys for watching today's stream. Thank you for sharing today's stream. We'll see you soon. We're out. We'll see you on Monday with Karen Kwiatkowski. Hopefully, fam, if you could stop on in tomorrow night with Beauty and the Boomer, it'd be great to see you there too as well. All right?
Okay,
we're done, guys. We love you. Thank you, Jayme CheeseSlice. Thank you all. We'll see you soon.